At the same time, Jay Gang was dealing with their group of assassins. Countless thugs tried to gang up on him, but ended up being skewered by him. Even their leader was easily captured. They thought they were tough. Jay Gang sneered. However, Jagal Sonjai had completed their coup d'etat formation. This place was now completely sealed off, and they were the ones trapped inside, not him. Jay Gang relied on hit-and-run tactics, swiftly taking down numerous enemies. The chaotic scene facilitated his actions, but their numbers were overwhelming. Moreover, every time one fell, they immediately knew and rushed to fill the gap. He also noticed the sound of flutes, the way they could coordinate. This formation wasn't fixed by continuously deploying troops according to the enemy's movements. It naturally formed. The intricate gears of this formation allowed easy detection of problems. If one gear ceased, it would gradually push the enemy towards the strongest force. Jay Gang, being from the dark sect, was getting weary after a while of fighting. He realized he couldn't follow their arrangement. He couldn't escape this formation like this. Suddenly, countless arrows flew towards him. Jay Gang could only use a nearby body as a shield, forcing him into the dark gate, then the dead gate. Countless men were waiting there to gang up on him, but he was nowhere to be found. Jay Gang had vanished. He was in the life gate, essentially hiding in a shadowy corner. They acted like they knew all the secrets, but it was giving them a headache. However, he couldn't stay hidden forever. Remembering his bodyguard's words from the previous day, to escape the formation, he had to use the fish's swimming pattern. Only then could he survive. Next, he employed stealth tactics, attacking them while running at all entrances. This made their signals chaotic, the perfect opportunity for him to deal with them. To do this, Jay Gang had to set up poisonous traps in advance. However, he had only taken down less than 20 people, while the enemy numbered over 100. They would continuously press on with their formation, encircling him. But Jay Gang had found a way out. Right at that moment, Tik Longquen was present. He had come for revenge for his lover, Jay Galian. He belonged to the Tanlong Tifong, the strongest geniuses of Kangho. After his lover was killed, he had attempted suicide but couldn't go through with it. He still had to avenge her, which was why he was here. Jay Gang wanted to reveal the truth, but fundamentally, he couldn't say it directly. Lashing out, Tik Longquan's attack speed and strength surpassed Jay Gang's. But Jay Gang had to fight back because staying here longer would be more dangerous, especially with Jack Cat Bang still around. Both engaged in combat, but their opponent was too strong. Even one of his hands could easily knock him away. Jay Gang's seemingly weak appearance made him start to doubt himself. How could he defeat Jay Galian when he was this weak? He used a feint to try to exploit a vulnerability, but Tik Longquen wasn't that foolish. He countered with a devastating punch. One of his hands was bound, and Jay Gang's attempt to use his dark energy was blocked by his sword. Seizing the opportunity, Tik Longquen closed in and aimed his Nat Dung Dak at him, thinking he had finished Jay Gang off. But Jay Gang managed to evade the attack, despite his internal injuries worsening due to the battle. Meanwhile, Beakley's anger flared upon learning that his disciple was in Unum. He wasn't afraid of Jay Gang killing his disciple. He feared that if the woman knew, his adopted son would surely appear. Manjo had been here for some time, informing the saint of the hack sect. Lipid was surely on her way. His target remained Jay Gang. Meanwhile, Jay Gang continued his struggle, even as the veins in his body began to go chaotic. However, the pain spurred him on, matching the speed of his opponent. Both crazily charged at each other in a fierce battle. Weapons were knocked aside, and they resorted to hand-to-hand combat, resulting in a resounding clash. Jay Gang ended up defeated, his hand twisted painfully. In his moment of confidence, Tik Longquen was also hit by Jay Gang's poison, derived from the western daisy flower. It caused neurological disruption and nausea, weakening his respiratory system. I can't lose this battle. If I lose, I'll die here. I must survive. Jay Gang resolved. Tik Longquen then retrieved Jay Galian's detox pill. During the most perilous moment, the leader of the dark arts sect arrived to save him. He quickly realized the vast gap in their abilities, rendered unconscious by her betrayal. Just then, a powerful force struck. It was Jiangol Meong. He had reached the pinnacle of deathly aura mastery. It seems our efforts were not in vain, he remarked before they engaged in battle once again. Despite the dark arts sect leader's attempt to seal him with her silk cloth, it was quickly torn to shreds. The elderly man recounted the annihilation of her clan years ago. further fueling her fury, yet her attacks proved futile. Manjo had to intervene, taking soldiers hostage to force Jekapang's retreat. Meanwhile, Jekang attempted to poison him, but failed as the old man had lost a leg long ago. He was a decoy. The elderly man began to recount his suffering, weeping bitterly about the hardships he endured. Jekang had already stabbed him with a poisoned needle, but was knocked unconscious by his retaliatory blow. He resolved to lead his troops to seek treatment for him, and also relied on the dark arts sect to take Jekang away. Finally, the dark arts sect leader unleashed her true power, swiftly resolving the conflict before General Li Pin's arrival. Initially, there was no direct confrontation, but eventually they realized the old man's deception. The battle concluded with Jekang being taken away by her after defeating Manjo. Upon hearing that this place was about to be surrounded, the head of the demonic sect ordered his subordinates to take Jekang back to the sect to heal his injuries. While recuperating, Jekang was constantly haunted by dreams of Manjo, tormenting him relentlessly. In these dreams, there was no respite, leaving Jekang in a state of despair. Just as he was about to succumb to the nightmare, Jekang suddenly woke up, startled to find a stranger beside him. He was about to react violently to a young girl, but managed to restrain himself, averting a potential altercation. The sect leader approached to reassure him that this was the secret stronghold of the sect, and there was no need for concern. Once he had calmed down, Jekang and the girl reminisced about their time in Nanji village. Jekang blamed himself for not arriving earlier, which would have prevented the villagers from falling into danger. Moreover, he hadn't yet killed Manjo, which frustrated him deeply. The sect leader comforted him, saying he had done well. Every battle exacts its toll in bloodshed. Manjo, despite being despicable, was the reason for Jekang's growth and indirectly contributed to his survival until now. The important thing now was to recover quickly before departing. The sect leader mentioned that Jekang's reputation had spread far and wide to Yuna, where he was now known as Doc Long. Meanwhile, at the edge of Beekleejum Forest, someone was reading a letter with frustration. Because the allied factions were to support the sect leader as he requested, there was no outlet for his anger. Suddenly, a group of sect disciples, unaware of their own limitations, attempted to ambush Beekleejum, but were thwarted without him drawing his sword. Their arrogance led to their demise as luck caused everything to explode in agony. After wandering for a few days, Manjo, accompanied by Tik Longquan, who was close to death, arrived seeking help from Jayakat. Upon arrival, he was overwhelmed by the sight before him. A place where no one had dared to stir trouble for centuries, now filled with leisurely activities and fine beverages. Suddenly, this local doctor had to tend to Tiklong while bickering with Jayakat, the two arguing for hours, until Tiklong woke up, thinking a battle was about to unfold, only to be knocked back into sleep by a blow from Manjo. Quite the spectacle indeed. Manjo, needing to meet Zhang Laojia with as little hassle as possible, grew disheartened upon learning that only the young miss was present in the city now, so he left in frustration. Turning back to Jekang, despite being invited by the sect leader to join the secret sect, he refused, feeling disillusioned. Seeing his mood, the sect leader left the room to fetch some items for the Mid-Autumn Festival, leaving Jekang and Ahone to converse. Just as Jekang was excitedly chatting with Ahone's sister, he discovered she was mute. Jekang felt disheartened and went out to the courtyard to get some fresh air. As he walked, Jekang pondered over whether he had exerted too much in the recent battle, a fierce conflict that had left him alive, a true miracle. He needed time to recuperate, as the wise words of the local girl had suggested. However, Jekang couldn't rest properly because he felt restless about Nanji village. Jekang had witnessed firsthand how chaotic the martial world had become. It was no longer a place where righteousness and justice prevailed. Instead, it had become corrupt. If a couple of fish polluted the water, Jekang could simply catch them. But what if the water itself was the issue? What could they do then? Especially with He Woljin, the martial world's leader responsible for this transformation. Jekang didn't know whether he should seek revenge against He Woljin, the one responsible for this, or if his enemy was even more formidable than he thought. And there was still another haunting enemy he needed to be wary of. Was his quest for vengeance truly futile? Lost in thought, Peetabook entered with a deer, and both reminisced about the battle at Nanji village. Seeing Jekang heavily bandaged, Peetabook teased him, which only added to Jekang's frustration at his inability to retaliate. They discussed the battles of the past, particularly when Dak Munfai attacked Duokfai. Hearing the story, Jay Kane's worldview was shaken, because he had always believed Doc Monfei was the cause of the conflict. Curious, Jay Kane asked for clarification and learned that about 10 years ago, Doc Monfei launched a large-scale attack on Doc Monfei. Due to the surprise attack, Doc Monfei couldn't retaliate. However, with the unexpected involvement of Tangja from Tuxuan, the balance of power shifted significantly in favor of Doc Monfei. Doc Monfei gradually collapsed, either through assassination or dependency on Doc Monfei, as no one sided with them to avoid enmity with the alliance. The survivors of Doc Monfei were left helpless, forced into a corner. Ultimately, no one knew the true events that had occurred. Doc Monfei blamed Doc Monfei for producing banned substances, while Doc Monfei blamed Doc Monfei for attacking them first. Their mutual dislike had reached its breaking point, leading to an explosive confrontation. After learning the root of the story, Jay Kane felt remorseful, blaming himself for blindly seeking revenge against Doc Monfei all this time. Moreover, he discovered that Ahon's younger sister, Soxo, was actually the daughter of the Doc Monfei sect leader. Jay Kane told Soxo that she didn't need to take care of him anymore. It was understandable, as she was just a young girl. Why should she be burdened with such responsibility? If it were him, he'd punch someone a few times. A week later, Jay Kane was slowly recovering, practicing his martial arts when the sect leader came to check on him. Jay Kane lamented about the futility of his revenge, unsure of what to do now. The sect leader empathetically shared his own experiences, advising Jay Kane to seek enlightenment naturally by browsing online resources. He promised to send him some links whenever he had time. As Jay Kane was searching for the links, Book rushed in to scold him for making Soxo upset and refusing to talk to anyone. It dawned on Jay Kane how foolish he had been, so he hurried to apologize to Soxo. Fortunately, she was understanding and forgave him. Accepting Jay Kane back, she even joked about it, saying she'd only forgive him after he treated her to a feast. Returning to Jay Kane's story, despite being warned not to wander aimlessly at night, Manhwa continued to do so recklessly, seemingly considering this place his own. As he wandered around, he encountered Tangja's daughter, whom he had known previously. She was furious with him for causing trouble for her family, but he casually brushed it off, advising her to go to bed early as staying up late wasn't good for her complexion. Hearing his words, she turned away, reminding him to settle everything before her father returned home, then left. Shortly after receiving a letter from Manhwa, the sect leader of the secret sect felt uneasy. Jay Kane approached from a distance, expressing his desire to travel the world to gain enlightenment. While the sect leader hoped Jay Kane would join, he realized Jay Kane's determination was too strong, so he wished him luck in finding his path and urged him not to die too soon, as the martial world had many masters. The next day, all the members of the demonic sect bid farewell to Jay Kane, wishing him success in the future. Soxo even gave him a bag of revitalizing herbs to enhance his vitality. After parting ways, the sect leader informed Book that he would go to the mountains to find Manhwa, despite the dangers lurking there. Meanwhile, back on this side, after setting numerous traps throughout the forest, Manhwa leisurely sat roasting sweet potatoes and admiring the moon when suddenly, Lee Jong-baek appeared behind him without any unnecessary movement. Lee Jong-baek sent Manhwa flying hundreds of meters away with a single blow. Despite using all his strength to retaliate, Manhwa was no match for Lee Jong-baek, who treated him as if it were just child's play. About to finish him off and find a comfortable seat, Lee Jong-baek handed Manhwa a piece of paper with his wife's handwriting on it, triggering old memories. Lee Jong-baek spared Manhwa's life and returned to Jay Kane, who sensed someone trailing him while he was trekking through the forest. Remembering the sect leader's advice about the three major forces in Tuxuan, Ngame, Thanthan, and Tangja, they would monitor anyone suspicious until they left the area. Although knowing he was merely being monitored, so Jay Kane tried to shake off his follower, thinking it might be someone significant. However, it turned out to be just a kid with a runny nose. Witnessing Jay Kane detoxifying along the way, the kid intended to report back to the master, Thanthan, but reconsidered, realizing he was just out for fun, not on a study mission. Returning to his studies meant facing the master's disciplinary actions and burying himself in books again. Thus, sticking with Jay Kane seemed preferable. However, during one instance of following Jay Kane's footprints, the kid lost track of him, feeling frustrated and helpless. By the late afternoon, as he exited the forest, Jae Kang entered a faux restaurant intending to have a light meal to satiate his hunger. However, despite being famished, he couldn't bring himself to eat. Suddenly, the boy who had been trailing him entered the restaurant. Exhausted and hungry, he asked Jae Kang if he could have his meal to fill his empty stomach. Seeing the innocent look on the boy's face, Jae Kang allowed him to eat his meal, feeling sympathetic. As the boy ate, he lamented how his master forced him to work without pay and even withheld food expenses for his travels. Jae Kang warned the boy that there might be poison in the food, which startled him. Furious at the idea of someone poisoning food, Jae Kang pointed out two individuals in the distance who were likely responsible for the poisoning. It turned out to be someone from Tang's faction. The boy angrily confronted the two culprits for daring to poison food in this region, warning them of the consequences if they targeted members of Fan Fan, Ngami, or Tangja factions. They would face severe punishment. Jae Kang felt the commotion was too much, so he left. Then, a guy named Chris, holding a stick, intended to assassinate him. He thought the kid, Jung, was just an ordinary boy. But with only 2 sticks, he managed to thwart the assailant's moves. Irritated by being underestimated, Jung struck back and took down Chris. Luckily for him, the young lady from the Tangja sect sitting nearby shattered the stick before it could reach him. As Jung was about to counterattack, he noticed Jae Kang leaving and decided not to pursue. With his mouth continuously demanding medicine after the fight, it was clear that children were nothing but trouble. The 2 members of the Tangja sect didn't want any more trouble, so they gave him some medicine. Feeling exhausted from following Jae Kang, Jung asked him to accompany him as a friend, just to have someone to talk to. Seeing that the kid had no malicious intent, Jae Kang happily agreed. Jung wondered why Jae Kang's aura was strong, but didn't act aggressively in the restaurant, where Jae Kang engaged in a brawl, causing chaos. It was typical of youth, fighting in someone else's place without even having money for drinks or knowing how to compensate for the damages. Jung, with experienced eyes, noted that Jae Kang was the real deal, and he agreed to follow them. Surprisingly, despite his actions, Jae Kang's master accused him of being malicious and required supervision to prevent him from causing trouble. Actions spoke louder than words. Later, Jung boasted to Jae Kang that in Tuxuan, no one dared to touch the members of the Fan sect. Hearing this, Jae Kang felt sorry for himself, drowning in resentment and fear of being targeted, while Jung seemed carefree, thanks to his powerful protector. The 2 members of the Tangja sect witnessed someone from the Fan sect following them, but didn't dare to confront them, resulting in an argument and each going their separate ways. Meanwhile, the leader of the dark sect disguised himself to meet with the old Manjo, proposing an exchange of prisoners, Doklong for Tinlong. However, since she had already released Doklong, they resorted to stealing instead. Manjo thought to himself, "Beauty is a trap. Though she is not following the path of the dark sects, she is still one of them. She knew that fool would be in danger if handed over to me, so she didn't do it. I made the right decision to let her go with the beauty's help, to give him a chance at life." The leaders of the dark sects thought they were releasing a chicken when they let Jae Kang go, but they were wrong. He was a wolf. This was all part of Manjo's plan. As they were about to strike Tinlong, he suddenly woke up and attacked her. Not only that, but Manjo also took the opportunity to attack her with extraordinary skills. The dark sect leader continuously unleashed moves to obscure the air, making it hard to see. Not only did they call for reinforcements, but they also used dark energy to suppress the beauty. Though the enemy seemed more numerous, with extraordinary skills, Motrao and Hatrao successfully prevented them from reaching the dark sect leader. While they were enjoying their martial arts exchange, the old man used dark energy on the dark sect leader, weakening her. Seizing the opportunity, Tinlong struck, taking one of her arms, ignoring the old man's warning that she might die from the Tangja sect's poison. She was exerting all her strength to fight against Manjo, but Hatrao arrived to rescue her, jumping into the river to escape with her, leaving Motra alone to fend off the attackers. Holding out for less than 30 seconds, Motra was easily subdued, frustrated at not catching the dark sect leader. Jae Kang and Jung wandered around a forest in Tuxuan. Jung kept asking why Jae Kang's leg was broken, and why people called him cruel when he hadn't killed anyone. Jae Kang patiently answered each question, admitting that he had indeed punched people before. Jung wondered why everyone saw Jae Kang as a member of the dark sects, but hadn't seen him do anything bad. Kang calmly replied. Just as the leader of the dark sects told you before, go online and see what the masters teach, then you'll understand. Yoonjung let slip that the place Kang had just left would soon be wiped out. In the lower reaches of Kulam, the dark sect leader and Hatra were fortunate to survive. They mourned for Motral and the lost arm, swearing to seek revenge against the old man someday. The three major forces wanted to destroy the dark sect because of its connection to Kang. Furious that the place had once sheltered him in difficult times, Kang immediately wanted to return to the dark sect to rescue them. However, Yoonjung stopped him using her wind bell, deeming it too dangerous. In a moment of desperation, a black serpent emerged, and Kang cleverly bit off its head to regain his vitality. It turned out to be a gift from the two Tangje members to test if the name Doc Long was just a pseudonym. Annoyed that Tangje was interfering, Yoonjung protested, but the Tangje lady removed her hat and ordered Yoonjung to let Kang do as he pleased. Seeing her beauty and status, Yoonjung reluctantly stepped aside, allowing Kang to follow his desires. When Kang had traveled quite a distance, Yoonjung followed him using extraordinary skills. Noticing Kang's exhaustion, Yoonjung offered to carry him on her back, despite not knowing if what she was about to do was right or wrong. Nonetheless, she didn't hesitate, carrying him to the dark sect. Eventually, the dark sect leader and Hatra were brought back to the home of the two individuals and received medical treatment. All the disciples of the dark sect wanted to seek revenge for their leader, but they were chased away. The dark sect leader didn't want to involve others, so she wanted them to flee far away, leaving her to deal with the issue alone. However, touched by the disciples' loyalty, the dark sect leader blamed herself for not being strong enough to protect them all. Meanwhile, in the main base, Lee Jong-baek brought the dark sect leader's arm to the Mim Master. Though somewhat disappointed it was only an arm and not the whole body, the Jaegul Songji announced that there would soon be a battle in Jangdong because of Manju's actions between the Ngami sect and the dark sect. Therefore, they decided to wait and see how events unfolded. As Manju had repeatedly failed, the Min Master ordered Lee Jong-baek to spare his life for now and assess the situation later. At the headquarters of the dark sect, the disciples were preparing for the imminent battle for survival. Playabuk had sent letters requesting reinforcements before the enemy's arrival. Finally, the enemy arrived, seemingly numerous but lacking a clear leader. Vion taunted them, but one person claiming to be the leader of the Namjuin gang stepped forward. Despite their attempts to avoid conflict, the dark sect leader lost an arm in the first skirmish. She fought fiercely, managing to fatally injure Jeon Duong. But suddenly, Masabul Myogol from the Ngami sect appeared, effortlessly neutralizing her attacks. Claiming to be a supervisor for the three major forces, Masabul Myogol intervened to prevent further bloodshed, temporarily restraining the dark sect leader. Fierce battles erupted between the disciples of both sides, with the mainstream sect disciples showing brutal ferocity, sparing neither women nor children. Seeing the desperate situation, the dark sect leader intended to unleash her ultimate technique. But the lingering poison from the Tangja sect rendered her unable to act, putting her in grave danger of being finished off by Masabul Myogol. Suddenly, Kang appeared coldly, his eyes filled with resentment. He used his dark energy to strike at some of the unruly gang members and Masabul Myogol, forcing her to halt her lethal attack and save the dark sect leader. Kang introduced himself briefly as Doc Long, swiftly dispatching Jeon Duong. Everyone was taken aback by Kang's appearance, fearing his swift resolution of the situation. But they encountered a formidable obstacle named Masabul Myogol. Seeing Doc Long, who was supposed to be observing, directly engage in the attack, the dark sect leader fought fiercely, but was gravely injured and unable to continue. Masabul Myogol and Kang engaged in a 300-move battle, but despite Kang's efforts, he couldn't make a dent. Just when Masabul Myogol was about to strike a finishing blow, Yoonjung intervened. Seeing Masabul Myogol, who was supposed to be a supervisor tasked with minimizing casualties, incite violence, including against women and children, Yoonjung, enraged, joined forces with Kang to defeat her. However, their efforts were in vain, and Kang was wounded, losing his fighting strength. Feeling the pressure, Yoonjung unleashed her artifact, a technique effective only against those who hear it. Masabul Myogol, despite appearing benevolent moments ago, feigned deafness after being affected by the dual technique. striking a blow that caused Jay Kang to bleed profusely and shattered Yunjong's attack. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, Jay Kang was on the verge of giving up when the sect leader reassured him that it wasn't over yet, and there were still ways to turn the tide. She introduced the wild mystery pill technique and promised to teach him a new skill called Heavenly Sound Technique, the best she could offer him in his current state. Just as Masabul Myogol was about to deliver a finishing blow, Jay Kang, in a moment of delirium induced by chewing candy, dreamt of his spirit beast, including a person named Innova, who transmitted a new technique named Saving Pearl-like Sound. Armed with this new technique, Jay Kang swiftly disabled Masabul Myogol with a single needle strike, leaving her blind in one eye despite her attempts to block it with her sword. Realizing her failure and fearing further consequences, Masabul Myogol fled, promising to return another day for a rematch. With the leader gone, the remaining gang members quickly surrendered. The Dark Sect disciples, who were about to retaliate, were stopped by their leader, who opted to spare the captives, awaiting their trial the next day. Feeling grateful for Jay Kang's assistance, the sect leader thanked him for his intervention, lamenting the loss of lives, but acknowledging that it was a part of their history. They resolved to live better to eventually reclaim justice for their fallen comrades. As the area became unsafe, the sect leader ordered everyone to evacuate and find a new shelter. Jay Kang volunteered to accompany them, feeling that this was his true family and what he needed to protect. The following morning, Manjio and his gang arrived at the Dark Sect's headquarters, only to find it deserted except for some captured prisoners who recounted Jay Kang's victory over Masabul Myogol. Realizing Jay Kang's pivotal role in the sect's triumph, Manjio chuckled at the creation of a monster and relished the success he had inadvertently brought to fruition. As Tange's people arrived to invite him for a drink, Manjio left his subordinates behind and swiftly departed. Paya Book saw the little Yunjong following along, feeling bored with nothing to do. He teased her, saying that yesterday she fought with those Ngami sect disciples, and she might get expelled. This made Unjong worry and sit quietly. Meanwhile, the leader of the demonic sect noticed his health wasn't good and was about to pass on his meditation technique to Jay Kang, when Yunjong interrupted with her questions, annoying him enough to go to sleep for better health. Up in the mountains, a group of Ngami people were observing the secret group of the demon sect. They intended to attack, but were stopped by Bookshun, the head of the Thanthan sect, because there was a precious disciple of his on the demon sect's convoy. The Ngami group wanted to take Yunjong back to their sect for her actions against Masabul Myogol the day before. Seeing this, Bookshun subtly warned them to leave, displaying his powerful internal energy, which made them abandon their plans and vow to seek revenge later. After they left, Tangheja, a member of the Tangja sect, appeared and expressed interest in Jay Kang, a formidable opponent who always faces much stronger enemies, and yet never retreats. Vanim, Dokman Phai, Dum Fulong, members of the Jago sect, including Tin Long, and now even Masabolio, were extremely daring. If Jay Kang fought them, he would likely lose his life, as everyone would say. But he always held his ground, never backing down. His current position was entirely due to his unwavering determination. Seeing Jay Kang was interesting to Bookshun, who was also curious about his character. In another development, Manjio stood before the headquarters of the Tangja sect, unsure of his next move. Then, a charming girl appeared and opened the door, leaving Manjio in awe of the place. The leader there was Lhasa Tangtrum, someone who had retreated into hiding. While not the leader of the Tangja sect, he was the one who made major decisions. When facing Lhasa Tangtrum, even Manjio was stunned by his brutality. He ordered killings as casually as one might kill rabbits. It was a new, incomplete poison he wanted Manjio to use, but Manjio refused, saying he would take it only after it was fully developed. Because of his contribution in bringing Jay Kang and Doklong back to the martial world, Lhasa Tangtrum rewarded Manjio with a vial of medicine that could enhance his internal strength for 20 years. Manjio happily accepted the gift, but secretly thought it might be more suitable for the monster Jay Kang, his younger brother. Thinking the gift was over, he prepared to leave, but Lhasa Tangtrum suggested that Tangjeja marry Doklong. This proposal caught Manjio off guard, as despite being rejected by Doklong's family when he joined their group of disabled fighters, Manjio had always found ways to help him and enhance his strength. Now, arranging a wedding for him with Tangjeja seemed like an intriguing move for a villain. Hearing Manjo's suggestion, Lhasa Tangtrum laughed, finding the idea amusing after 10 years of dullness. However, he pointed out that Dak Long originated from an evil sect, and if he married into Tangja, the entire martial world would be against them. Manjo brushed off this concern, suggesting they simply change Kang's identity to come from a different sect. But first, they needed to create discord between the respected figures Hargu and Jung. Impressed with the flawless plan, Lhasa Tangtrum gifted Manjo a magical gem, ensuring his protection by Tangja. Satisfied with achieving his goal, Manjo pretended to test the gem's strength by slamming it onto the table, observing Lhasa Tangtrum's reaction. This bold move surprised Lhasa Tangtrum, who realized that the virtuous Hagold would soon summon Manjo for questioning. However, he warned Manjo that whoever obtained the crucial information would control the situation, leaving Manjo uneasy. Returning to Kang and the remnants of the demonic sect, everyone felt exhausted. They halted at an inn to rest. Around 11 p.m., Kang visited the sect leader's room to inquire about his health. The leader expressed his fatigue, unable to engage in adult activities anymore, and hoped Kang would learn 2 martial arts techniques, Bikdong Kukwang and Niguloithian Duat, which would undoubtedly be useful. The sect leader wanted Kang to learn these techniques to apprehend Jung and hold him accountable for his actions, as they considered Kang's place their home. Agreeing to learn the martial arts and catch Jung to atone for his deeds, Kang was about to leave when Tovao suddenly appeared. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-baek was practicing being a delivery person, but failed as someone returned their order, a single arm instead of the whole body. Feeling frustrated, he was further annoyed when Tin Long interrupted his brooding to ask for money to go to a bar, only to be rudely kicked out. The next morning, after a satisfying breakfast, Kang, having recently studied the martial arts manual Tontu, understood that the most dangerous place was also the safest. Wanting everyone to pack up and return to their sect, he faced opposition because of the perilous journey ahead, especially through the Tham Mountains. To ensure safe passage, the sect leader asked Yunjung to pretend to be a hostage and assist them. Though hesitant at first, everyone found the plan reasonable, and they reluctantly returned home. The journey back was fraught with danger, lasting 2 days, until they finally reached the western side of the Tham Mountains. Hearing news of intruders, the martial artist Bookshun immediately rushed to investigate. Confronting Yunjung, Bookshun reproached him for causing trouble for the Tham sect and pretending to be a hostage for the demonic sect. Displeased, Bookshun refused to accept Yunjung as his disciple any longer. Despite feeling dejected, Yunjung remained stoic but cold. Seeing the dire situation the demonic sect faced, Bookshun decided to take drastic action, ordering the members of the demonic sect to vacate the abandoned martial arts hall where he once trained. Although it seemed risky, Kang demanded better protection, and Bookshun agreed to guarantee their safety if they could master 3 martial arts techniques without retreating. Recognizing Kang's potential for future greatness, Bookshun departed, leaving Kang wounded but surrounded by the sect leader and others, who encouraged him to recover soon. Meanwhile, with the powerful gem obtained by Manjo, he instructed Tanghaja to abandon her disguise as a boy and prepare for marriage. Despite being unacquainted with the groom-to-be, Tanghaja agreed. Manjo then arranged for Tanghaja to taste a banana given by a sickly man. Shocked by the repulsive appearance of the supposed groom, Tanghaja killed him in anger. Then, Manjo gave her an antidote and instructed her to approach Inova and seduce Daklong to bring him back. Feeling resentful, but unable to defy Manjo's command, Tanghaja reluctantly agreed. Kang and Yunjung were practicing diligently until Xokso brought cool water. Then they rested. A brief conversation ensued. Yunjung had to stay and eat with them because the master didn't allow her to leave. It was a pity, but they shrugged it off. Late at night, when Kang was meditating, Inova couldn't sleep well. He went to Kang's room to borrow a sleep aid. Approaching, she discovered that the poison she had been exposed to had seeped into her bone marrow. If conventional detoxification methods were used, she would die without a doubt. Now she could only seek help from Tangja. Please provide a new antidote without leaving any sequela. The next morning, Miss Tanghaja met Kang in the garden. Due to Manjo's order to marry Daklong, she wanted to test him to see if he was worthy to be her husband. At the same time, Bookshun happened to pass by and agreed to be the referee. The two engaged in combat. Arrows and poisonous rocks flew in all directions. But despite being the protagonist, they did not make Jae Kang any stronger. His stomach growled with hunger. Guess who'll be doing dishes and cooking from now on? Seeing himself losing this match, he had to do dishes and cooking for a lifetime. Jae Kang refused to accept it. His fortune and skill surrounded him. The two fought for another 500 rounds. Though Jae Kang was seriously injured, he still refused to surrender. Tang Aja blamed herself for being too weak, not being able to do what she wanted in her lifetime, and not receiving her father's care. She admired him because he could freely do what he wanted. Although she could have used tactics to defeat Jae Kang, Tang Aja chose to accept defeat to him. It was hard to understand that she truly won by admitting defeat. The evil sect rejoiced because Jae Kang won. However, Tang Aja knelt down and begged him to marry her, willing to do dishes and clean for him for a lifetime. Moreover, if he wanted to go drinking with friends, she would never stop him. Although tempted by the offer, he had many things to do, so he only accepted her as a friend and took her medicine. As he tasted a bit of the medicine, he knew it was poison. This also surprised Tang Aja, and she cursed Master Manjo angrily. Then the medicine bottle that Master Manjo gave to Tang Aja turned out to be a vial of poison. He randomly picked it from the shelf and handed it to her, causing her to gasp. He ordered his subordinates to find the 8 types of deadly toxins, including the Tanja poison, which could kill instantly. Even the most skilled martial artists couldn't cure. His subordinates hesitated to comply, so Manjo subtly pulled out Ngokan from his pocket, frightening them into obedient silence. On Mount Thanthan, one clear moonlit night, Bookchun strolled to discuss with the sect leader about the actions of the Ngami and Tanja sects, which would plunge the world into chaos. They needed a suitable solution to stop this. However, the author had thought that Bookchun was the strongest in the Thanthan sect, but despite being younger, Mu An was actually the sect leader. It's uncertain if he was on the list of the Disable Club, but Mu An's aura showed he was a powerful monster, feared by few. That night, at the foot of the mountain, Tang Aja felt ashamed for accidentally carrying the antidote for Innova, as set up by Manjo. Jae Kang comforted her, revealing that Manjo had been his enemy for 9 years, having killed his entire family. Though he managed to poison Manjo, he survived till now. Jae Kang promised to deal with him together in the future, feeling ashamed of her actions and fearing torture and punishment if she returned now. Tang Aja wanted to liberate herself peacefully. Jae Kang encouraged her to resist suicide and informed her about Tanja's plot to use poison on innocent people on a large scale. Knowing Tanja's evil intentions, Jae Kang immediately sought out the sect leader, Innova, to handle it. After a lengthy conversation, they understood Tanja's plot but had no solution. Then everyone retired to rest. In the Tanja's prison, Moonpyeong, the 35th disciple of the Sonho sect, was held captive. Lhasa Tangtrung demanded his subordinates to release him and set conditions. All he needed was to defeat Lhasa Tangtrung. Moonpyeong attempted various martial arts tactics against Lhasa Tangtrung, but they were all futile. In just 3 moves, Lhasa Tangtrung had Moonpyeong lying on the ground. Then it turned out this was just a test for him to try out the new poison. Seeing the new toxin taking effect quickly, Lhasa Tangtrung chuckled in satisfaction, knowing that soon they would have mastery over Tudyongwei and Thua. Along the riverbank below Mount Thanthan, Jae Kang was bathing when he caught Tang Aja secretly watching. She came to thank him for enlightening her the previous night. Tang Aja came to bid him farewell and returned to Tanja to face everything. Seeing her return empty-handed, she might not survive. Jae Kang accepted to marry her to gather more information about Tanja. She asked how they would pretend to get married in the middle of the night. Jae Kang excitedly replied he had never done it before. But once the lights were out, they would figure it out. Tang Aja bashfully agreed to lead him back to Tanja's stronghold. On Mount Gyame, Masabul Leogal was furious for being forced by Jae Kang to join the Disabled Club. He wanted to go down the mountain to find Jae Kang, so he fried lemongrass and chili and brewed plum wine to calm himself down. While he was putting on his shoes and preparing to leave, Manju appeared with the Manju sect leader, sympathizing with Masabul Leogal, because he too had been blinded and had his leg broken by Jae Kang. Then he presented Tanja's precious gems, wanting Gami to join forces to eliminate the Thanthan sect, where Jae Kang was hiding. The sect leader happily agreed to the idea. The next morning, Jae Kang, and Tangeja bid farewell to the evil sect, carrying a packed watermelon, heading back. It was surprising to everyone that they would get married. Even the sect leader didn't want him to go. But seeing his strong desire to marry, they all wished them well and bid them farewell. After walking for a while, Tangeja suggested Jay Kang to use his strength to walk faster, to which he bitterly replied, not knowing if she would carry him. But he would rather walk than arrive late. Eventually, they found an inn after dark. Unfortunately, there was only one room left, with many others staying, probably not as skilled as Jay Kang. Tangeja blushed in embarrassment, as it was her first time staying with a strange man. He insisted she take the bed while he slept on the floor. Both were restless and unable to sleep. Then they opened up to each other. Jay Kang recounted his past, consumed by vengeance and vendetta, seeking revenge day and night. Sympathizing with Jay Kang's story, she understood him better and hoped that one day, her future husband would find happiness, even if just a little. After Master Manjo treated Masabulmiogol's injuries, he requested permission from the sect leader to leave and prepare for the upcoming battle. Exhausted from 2 days of walking, Jay Kang and Tangeja finally arrived back at Tange's headquarters. Jay Kang silently celebrated his successful infiltration. Tangeja entered her room and stared at her wedding dress. Feeling a mix of emotions, she was happy to soon have a husband and roasted sweet potatoes every night, but also sad because their marriage was merely a scheme by both of them for their own purposes, not out of genuine love. Tangeja realized she had been overthinking, and sometimes closeness breeds affection between even mere acquaintances. Meanwhile, Jay Kang was strolling within the stronghold when he encountered Manjo. The two reminisced about old times, except for the matter of attempted murder. Just as the story was reaching its climax, Masabulmiogol sneakily attacked Jay Kang. Manjo intervened, urging them to settle matters after the wedding. Otherwise, the Ingami sect would suffer unnecessary damage, and their reputation was not worth it. At the same time, Lord Lassatantrung called for Jay Kang after he had cleaned up and put on fragrant cologne. He was invited to have a meal with Tangeja's parents. Sensing something was off, Jay Kang pretended to be clueless, injuring the imposters. Seeing their inadequate performance, Lassatantrung stepped forward and warmly greeted him, seating him with 20 disciples to mingle. While they exchanged martial arts techniques, Jay Kang questioned Lassatantrung about the presence of a nun there. He learned that they were currently witnessing the two strongest figures in Tuxuan, Lassatantrung and the Master in Un. They were there to discuss with Tangeja how to eradicate the Thanthan sect and resolve the nuisance. Afterward, when Tangeja, in her wedding dress, entered and urged Jay Kang to proceed with the marriage because she had waited too long, he had a change of heart upon realizing that Tangeja was behind everything. He wanted to confront Tangeja and was given 3 options by Manjo. First, return to Mount Thanthan and accept execution from them, knowing they would meet their doom together. Second, marry Tangeja, change his surname to Tangeja, pledge allegiance to Tangeja, and promise to forget the past to live a new life under Tangeja's responsibility. Third, choose suicide and receive the transmission of the strongest martial arts here. Jay Kang pretended to agree and then grabbed a knife, intending to assassinate Tangeja with it. However, he was interrupted by a simple trick from a young woman. He challenged Jay Kang to a one-on-one fight, saying if he was skilled, he could handle it alone. Tangeja stepped forward for close combat with Jay Kang, demonstrating what true martial arts etiquette was. With just 3 strands of his hair, Tangeja easily defeated Jay Kang, leaving him sprawling on the ground. Images of those who had fallen flashed through Jay Kang's mind, clearer than ever before. Despite using the same technique as Doklong, who was still alive, Jay Kang remained defeated. Lassatantrung, somewhat amused, wanted to toy with Jay Kang a bit longer, so he knocked Jay Kang unconscious and locked him up in the storage room. Witnessing Jay Kang's brutal beating, Tangeja's heart was moved, and she approached him crying like a child. When Jay Kang regained consciousness, he found himself stripped of all toxins and weapons, with his hands bound. He was disoriented and unaware of his location. Then, Tangri swaggered in, introducing himself and the storage room as Tangeja's repository of ancient martial arts, weapons, and treasures. Intrigued by Jay Kang's potential, Lassatantrung granted him 10 days to study anything he wished, with the promise of further interaction afterward. Tangres scorned Jay Kang, treating him like garbage, and his relentless insults only fueled Jay Kang's resentment. However, Tangres' occupation seemed leisurely, with no real responsibilities, leaving Jay Kang to ponder. Meanwhile, Manhwa strolled, reminiscing about Jay Kang, who had been in confinement for 9 days. Tomorrow would mark the 10th day. Manhwa couldn't understand why Lhasa Tangtrum had imprisoned him. Perhaps he wanted to convert Jay Kang to Tang's side, or simply torture him. The one most concerned about our protagonist was Manhwa, and if he didn't find a way to save Jay Kang, it might be too late. As Manhwa contemplated, he noticed smoke rising from the warehouse. Realizing it was a scheme orchestrated by Jay Kang, he grinned triumphantly, knowing that Tang's people were futilely attempting to extinguish the fire. Despite their efforts, the blaze continued to spread. Tangres stood bewildered, pondering why Jay Kang could still ignite a fire despite being stripped of everything. Jay Kang pretended to agree, and then used the Songlan Liu Truom technique to create fire and burn down Tangres' storage room. Tangres lamented over the loss, realizing that the room contained countless valuable archives of Tang's rich history, as well as the potential destruction of Tangman's trading business, with valuable books and money up in flames. Furthermore, Lhasa Tangtrum had not allowed Jay Kang to die yet, and if both the storage room and Dok Long were lost, Tangres would be the first to be exiled to Andong. Tangres was furious at the destruction of his life's work by Jay Kang. Tangres led his subordinates into the library to assess the damage, and from the shadows, Jay Kang used his weapons to defeat them all. Tangres was lucky to survive, but was surprised that Jay Kang remained so dangerous, even after his weapons had been confiscated. Tangres wondered how disastrous the consequences would be if Jay Kang had retained his poisons. Tangres attacked with Tanbong Goktuong, but Jay Kang easily countered with Sonlinthian Chuang, using the dust as cover to escape Tangres' sight. Meanwhile, smoke began to fill Tang Hage's room, causing her to worry about Jay Kang's safety. Seeing her distress, Manhwa, injured but determined, offered her Innova medicine, Hum Menduok, and a mysterious weapon, which Tang Hage immediately recognized as Fihantin, one of Tang's 10 supreme weapons. Despite the risk to his life, Manhwa stole a weapon for Jay Kang, hoping that Tang Hage would accompany him and care for him. Tang Hage struggled with the choice between her family and her beloved, knowing that helping Jay Kang would betray Tangja and ruin her dreams of becoming Tangja's ruler. However, she ultimately decided to assist Jay Kang. Lhasa Tangtrum watched in anger as Tang's centuries-old assets went up in flames, greatly damaging his reputation. Fuming with rage and wanting to exact revenge on Jay Kang, Lhasa Tangtrum received word that Tangres had entered the storage room, but Manhwa had returned and left a message before fleeing. Jay Kang, taking advantage of the chaos, disguised himself as a member of Tang's faction, successfully deceiving all the guards. However, his actions were detected by Masabol Naogol from the Ngami clan, who was furious at being blinded and deafened by Jay Kang before. Seeing Jay Kang, Masabol Naogol launched a relentless attack. Fortunately, Yoon Jung, who had aided Jay Kang previously, was absent this time, leaving Jay Kang vulnerable. He was quickly cornered against a wall, believing that the story's protagonist was about to change. Then, Jay Kang's almost bride, Tang Keja, stepped in to assist. Masabul Maogol was surprised to see the Tang heir aiding Jay Kang and realized that the impending death threat was real. Before he could react, Tang Aja struck him with a whip, injuring him. Just as Masabul Maogol received a new divine weapon from Tangja, he was hit by a pillow thrown by Tang Haja, knocking him back 10 meters. While Masabul Maogol was momentarily incapacitated, Tang Haja administered an Innova medicine to Jay Kang and urged him to flee, expressing her love for him. Before Jay Kang could respond to her affection, Masabul Maogol recovered and attacked again. Despite having a slight advantage initially, Masabul Maogol's overconfidence led to his quick defeat due to his own arrogance. Tang Haja witnessed her almost husband's humiliation and was almost unable to contain her laughter. Jay Kang attempted to intervene to rescue Tang Haja, but she refused, asserting that she was a part of Tangja and no one could harm her. Dok Long, who was nearby, quickly retreated upon hearing her words. Masabul Maogol, intending to strike Tang Haja, was halted by the arrival of the Ngami clan leader, who reprimanded him for his disobedience and arrogance. Masabul Mayogol was sent flying through a wall by the leader's strike, leaving him disoriented. Just as he was about to retaliate, he received a series of consecutive slaps, further disorienting him. The clan leader then advised him to kill Jay Kang and find someone to take the blame for his escape, allowing him to live and watch the ensuing events. Masabul Mayogol, acknowledging defeat, decided to retreat and challenge another opponent. Feeling that things were spiraling out of control, Lhasa Tangtrung reported the situation to Tangja's leader, Tukshoyan, and Mai Ho, the wife of Tang Koyok, to seek a solution. Lhasa Tangtrung blamed himself for being too lenient with Jay Kang and inadvertently unleashing a monster that could pose an unpredictable threat to Tangja. He was unsure how to deal with Tangja to avoid public scrutiny. Although he cherished her deeply, betraying the clan was forbidden, even if it meant defying legitimate heirs. As a result, Tang Koyok ordered Tangja to be imprisoned in a dark cell until Jay Kang was captured. Tangja obediently complied. While in the dark cell, she couldn't help but think of Jay Kang, who had sacrificed himself for revenge. Initially curious about him, she couldn't understand why he had acted so ruthlessly and why he had endured so much suffering. However, when she learned that Tangja was behind it all, she felt unworthy of Jay Kang's affection and began to feel lonely and desperate. Suddenly, she heard someone calling her name. Jay Kang, unable to use martial arts to escape, had staged a scene to make it appear as if he had fled but had actually hidden within Tangja. Tangja questioned why he had returned and what he intended to do. Jay Kang explained that he either missed her or needed her martial arts skills to help him escape like a bird. Tangja was impressed by his resourcefulness and joked about him squeezing her injured foot, implying that it was a form of proposal. Jay Kang quickly used Fihantin to loosen the handcuffs, and Tangja was freed. As they discussed their escape plan, Tangja suddenly arrived, sensing Jay Kang's intrusion. Upon seeing the clan leader present, Jay Kang and Tangja released the prisoners from the cell to use them as a distraction. Tangja, recognizing the value of the prisoners, had refrained from killing them, opting instead to keep them imprisoned. Feeling threatened by Jay Kang's defiance, Tangja attempted to lure him into becoming his son-in-law, promising him everything. However, Jay Kang, realizing he had no value to Tangja anymore, demanded retribution for all the suffering he had endured. Seeing his efforts to care for his prisoners crushed by another's actions, Tangja prepared to deliver a final blow to Jay Kang, intending to end the conflict once and for all. Mrs. Tang Koyok intervened at that moment. After all, she was someone that Tangja deeply cared about. She gave the two young ones a chance to prove their love and even gifted a ring to her granddaughter, symbolizing the acceptance of their affection. However, she gently reminded them that if Tangja didn't rectify her mistakes within 100 days, assassins would be sent, and they would be followed for the rest of Tangja's life. Afterward, she dispatched the leader of the Fiho team to protect the two, proving herself to be a remarkable person. Leaving Tangja behind, Tangja happily frolicked like a child. Now she felt no pressure and spent her days simply roasting sweet potatoes over a fire, which brought her immense joy. Seeing each other in bridal attire, she and Jay Kang decided to change clothes together. But first, they had to take a bath. As they walked for a while, they stumbled upon a small pond from their childhood. Tangja used to bathe there, bringing back nostalgic emotions. She playfully suggested bathing together with Jay Kang for fun, but he hesitated like a main character. Then he glimpsed her three sisters bathing as well, making 6 perfectly ripe oranges. Jay Kang stared without blinking, annoyed that he was ogling unfamiliar women. Tangja's loud scolding made everyone scatter, and she went to bathe alone. After cleaning themselves thoroughly, the two went into a small cave to rest by the fire. At that moment, Tangja whispered about the love potion ring that the old lady had given her. She expressed how the old lady wanted her to make him love her by any means and return to serve Tangja. But she couldn't do it because she had already fallen in love with him sincerely. She tossed away the handful of potion, and he grabbed her hand, drinking the potion before the two passionately embraced. Thus, they had a wonderful night roasting sweet potatoes. Back at Mount Thantan, Muwan met with Innova to discuss matters. Muwan felt relieved that her eyes were blinded, sparing her the sight of losing a hand. She had previously been in a deep and affectionate relationship with Innova, seeing Jay Kang and Tangja together as a couple. She urgently called for Muwan to reminisce about their past love, hoping to reunite with him. Concerned that this might affect the Thanthan sect, Nguyen listened to her desire for roasted sweet potatoes and showed a very suggestive face, boasting about his prowess and suggesting they roast potatoes together if he didn't have to be a leader anymore. Seeing him act so immaturely, she scolded him and sent him away, telling him to come back when he matured. Clueless, he asked if he could stay the night, and then Nguyen and Bukchun walked home together. After completing his tasks for Tanghaja, J-Kang ventured into the forest to train. He found a total of 9 spots for poison accumulation: 2 wrists, 2 ankles, the bottom of the basin, and the upper back region. The third area for toxin accumulation was his lower back. While he was still in Tangja's territory, he couldn't train any further, so he had to work harder to gather more poison. He was puzzled as to why a portion of his internal strength kept dispersing. Nguyen stepped in to offer guidance, advising him to focus on the basin, tighten the area below the abdomen, straighten his back, and expand the high back hoi acupoint. Finally, he expanded the basin. After receiving this guidance, J-Kang felt calm and invigorated. He successfully expelled countless toxins overnight. Through a night of martial arts instruction, J-Kang finally attained enlightenment. He needed to reach the realm of yin becomes yang and yang becomes yin. He expressed his gratitude to Muon and headed back down the mountain. Someone spread rumors about the presence of the evil sect at Mount Thanthan, causing disciples from the sect to flock there to meet their leader. Since this was the territory of the Thanthan sect, nobody was allowed to enter freely. One reckless individual attempted to intrude, only to be swiftly dealt with by a sword strike, causing him to bleed profusely. Bukchun stepped forward to inquire about the offense. Bao Feng Bin, who had once been arrested for theft and robbery, then fled to Sandong to learn from a female hermit. He possessed a skill of speaking with the stomach, which mesmerized even the most skilled martial artists, forcing them to reveal their martial arts secrets with the sound of a crying child. Despite being one of the remaining 8 demon generals from the Gurion, he was merely a ruffian who knew nothing about martial arts. Bukchun gently reminded them that the sect leader was currently injured and needed 15 days to recover, but nobody believed him. An imposing figure attempted to take Bukchun away, but with just a light wave of his 3 fingers, Bukchun sent the man packing. The remaining disciples were too frightened to act, and Bukchun left, telling them to decide what to do after the sect leader recovered in 15 days. After teaching J-Kang how to transmit energy in martial arts, Nguyen continued to teach him chess in order to help him master the Bikdong Kukwang and Nguloithian Thuat techniques. However, due to his blindness, J-Kang couldn't play with regular chess pieces. Nguyen showed him how to use internal energy to shake clamshells into chess pieces. J-Kang's attempts resulted in shattered clamshells, and he found the game uninteresting to learn. Frustrated, Nguyen left, telling J-Kang that if he wanted to succeed, he needed to mold the clamshells into chess pieces. Otherwise, he would only be fit for manual labor, unable to afford cosmetics or delicious food for Tanghaja. Feeling sorry for his wife's suffering, J-Kang stayed up all night practicing. Despite wanting to give up at times, he resolved to see it through. The next morning, after Nguyen finished cooking 2 bowls of beef noodles, he went to see how J-Kang was doing. Surprisingly, J-Kang had succeeded. Nguyen happily moved on to the next lesson, marveling at J-Kang's accomplishment despite his blindness. He then taught J-Kang to play chess move by move, recounting stories of an old friend who had mastered the Bikdong Kukwang and Nguloithian Thuat techniques. This friend had been J-Kang's chess partner for over 20 years, but was now imprisoned in the Marim Alliance at Kwaichao. Nguyen gave J-Kang a chess piece and told him that to master the techniques, he needed to seek out this old friend. They then went to a tavern and ordered 2 beers to stay awake in a small cave. Manjo, still suffering from the side effects of Vythian Balthuat, was recovering from his stupor and plotting to assassinate the leader of the Marim Alliance. The Marim Alliance's headquarters is located in Jiangtai Province. Manjio was introduced to the Guardian of the Threshold, who was one of the Tamvei Duangfam, 3 supreme elders, of the Marim Alliance. These 3 elders consisted of 2 Tamlu, the top 3, who held power, and 2 kings. They were the leaders of both demonic and orthodox factions, and the leaders of the mysterious order. Before meeting the leader of the Marim Alliance, Manjio handed the gatekeeper a palm leaf to show he brought offerings, along with a banana and a bottle of wine in case they got thirsty. Despite suspicions about Manjo's intentions, the guard reluctantly let him pass. The leader of the Mirim Alliance was intrigued by Manjo, because he not only caused trouble with Inova, but also with the leader's adopted son. It had been a long time since someone had stirred up the martial world so much. As they drank and talked, Manjo began to hallucinate, causing confusion in his mind. The leader realized that Manjo had come to assassinate him, so he cunningly tricked Manjo into drinking poison wine, intending for him to die in a state of resignation. Before succumbing to the poison, Manjo demanded to know why he was exposed. The leader explained that they had obtained Inova's arm after confiscating it from Beekly, who had become a monk afterward. It wasn't difficult to discern the discord between them, especially after analyzing the salt on the arm. Realizing that prolonging the conversation with Manjo would be unwise, the leader made the decision to let him go, knowing that keeping him would only cause more chaos in the martial world. The news of the Mirim Alliance leader's attack quickly spread everywhere, causing a stir in the martial world. A once quiet and peaceful Mirim was now ready to engage in battle. In Tanja, Lhasa Tangtrum was extremely excited about the chaos unfolding. He firmly believed that Manju would bring the world to the Mirim Alliance. The royal palace hastily sent messengers to inform Beekly, who casually remarked that it was time for a hunt. To ensure the safety of all disciples of the Than sect, Nguyen ordered them to evacuate to other safe locations, leaving only himself to face the imminent battle. This decision was made because Nguyen was deeply in love with Inova, much to the dissatisfaction of the elders, who felt betrayed by Nguyen's affection for her. Payabuk and Kang, along with his wife, were puzzled by the situation and wondered who was behind Manjo and who dared to assassinate the leader of the Mirim Alliance. Bukchun and Yoon Jung bid farewell, with Kang worrying about who would protect him and the others if they all left. Bukchun reassured Nguyen that he would stay behind, even though he was the strongest member of the Than sect, but he warned that if the Mirim Alliance mobilized all its forces, no one could resist. Then, Bukchun wished Nguyen good luck and led his disciples away to seek refuge. Meanwhile, Bach Chu, Tron Hong, Yong Green Kyung, along with members of the Mirim Alliance, arrived at the Taegsuan area, welcomed by representatives of the Tanja and Ngami sects. Yong Green Kyung bid farewell to the Ngami and Tanja representatives and proceeded towards the Than mountain to eliminate remnants of the demonic sect and the Than sect, fearing that someone else might seize the opportunity. Although they didn't particularly favor the Mirim Alliance, eliminating the Than sect would benefit Ngami and the Tanja sect, so they allowed the Mirim Alliance to do as they pleased. In the foothills of Than mountain, members of the demonic sect were restless, as their leader was absent for several days. They were planning to cause trouble, but Nguyen calmly approached them. One of them attempted to attack Nguyen, but Kang intervened just in time. Another tall figure recognized Nguyen as Doc Long, who had assisted the demonic sect and protected their leader. Doc Long decided to leave, knowing that the priority now was not fighting amongst themselves, but preparing for the upcoming major battle with the Mirim Alliance. At this moment, the forces of the Alliance led by Yong Green Kyung are advancing towards Mount Than. In the town of Tuxuan, major martial arts powers including Tanja, the Ngami faction, and the Than faction are gathered. These three forces are located in the western part of Annam. All the minor factions have been expelled to the north by the Mirim Alliance. Upon reaching the foot of Mount Than, Yong Green Kyung is suspicious because the area is too quiet, unlike the anticipation of a major battle. He suspects that the bandits are scared and have fled to avoid wasting time. Kang pretends to be a Taoist monk and invites Yong Green Kyung to the house for tea to show hospitality. Upon entering Yong Green Kyung's courtyard, Doc Long, who had intended to ambush Kang, was teased from the balcony. Guriel and Bei Fong Bin then came out to challenge Yong Green Kyung. As Yong Green Kyung enters the cool, darkened room, he realizes that all the members of the Than faction have left, leaving only Nguyen inside. He rushes in to attack the two men, leaving Doc Long to his subordinates. With plenty of energy left, Yong Green Kyung makes powerful strikes, but unfortunately, he doesn't hit anyone. Outside, Doc Long tests new weapons against the minor opponents, but is struck before he can attack. Feeling poisoned by Doc Long's allies attack him, moving at a speed too slow for Kang to avoid. Kang lightly dodges, and then uses his weapon to finish them off, wondering when he will be promoted. Inside, Yang Ringkyung keeps attacking, but all his strikes are blocked by Uriel's shield, frustrating him. He then tries to strike with his sword, but it's futile against Uriel. Despite Yang Ringkyung's large stature, he moves quickly, evading all of Yang Ringkyung's moves. Feeling helpless, Yang Ringkyung's legs buckle, preventing him from moving. He realizes that he's been poisoned by Doklong from below the mountain, which is now taking effect. However, having only appeared for a few minutes, he doesn't want to die so soon, and uses all his remaining strength to flee outside. Thinking that his disciple had dealt with Doklong already, Yang Ringkyung calls for reinforcements from the foot of the mountain. However, to his dismay, Muan has already defeated them all, and resigned himself to his fate. Yang Ringkyung remains silent, allowing his own forces to handle the situation. He reflects on his past belief that having strong allies meant less need for personal involvement in battles, only now realizing the importance of active participation in order to become stronger. Feeling regretful for not mobilizing other forces from Tukswayan to attack, Yang Ringkyung contemplates suicide. But Jae-kyung intervenes, as he has achieved his goal of defeating their opponents. Yang Ringkyung swears that even if circumstances were different, he would not show mercy to Jae-kyung next time they meet. Before leaving, Uriel and Bao Fongbin are surprised by Jae-kyung's decision to spare Yang Ringkyung, but they remember Pia Book's recognition of Jae-kyung as an ally against the Mirim, making it difficult for them to oppose him. As Jae-kyung descends the mountain, he sees his companions celebrating around a campfire and is impressed by their strength. Muan approaches and assures Jae-kyung that they will have peace for a while now that they have defeated the Mirim in Tukswayan and even handled Ringkyung's Bako troops from Kwachao. Muan suggests that it may be feasible to wait until Innova recovers before making further moves. Sensing an opportune moment, Muan advises Jae-kyung to go to Kwachao to seek out the strongest warrior, Zhang Yuan, to learn Bako Thingthuat. He emphasizes the importance of personal strength in protecting oneself and others. Jae-kyung bid farewell to his martial brothers, wrapped a gourd of squash, and set off. As he looked ahead, the road was filled with endless treachery. Jae-kyung worried about Tang Heija having to endure a lot of hardship. But since she accepted to follow him, she accepted everything. She even made him the first headscarf she sewed herself and gave him some joyful news. They were expecting a baby. Jae-kyung, having lived the life of a carefree young man, now had to change diapers for the baby. Tang Heija feared that if she wandered with him, they would encounter many dangers for the child, so she decided to run away alone. Jae-kyung was worried because Tang's people could come any time, but she reassured him that the elderly at home were eager to hold the baby, so he could rest assured. They bid each other farewell, exchanging their love. A few days later, at the Mirim Alliance headquarters in Kwachao, Jae-kyung noticed two guards struggling with sleeplessness while on duty. Jae-kyung helped them fall asleep soundly and slipped into the barracks. Using his lock-picking skills, Jae-kyung softly unlocked a door and challenged Zhang Yuan to a game of chess. It had been a long time since he encountered such an interesting opponent. Zhang Yuan yelled at the soldiers outside to maintain order, as Jae-kyung was a guest and should be welcomed warmly, not left in the cold like this. He sneaked in here to get warm, so no one could catch him at this level. Since he didn't bring any gambling money, Jae-kyung staked his own life, feeling quite satisfied as there was nothing to spend in prison. Zhang Yuan took out the chessboard, unused for many days, and played a few rounds with Jae-kyung. As the morning approached, Zhang Yuan gently reminded that at that time, they would not be able to avoid the sentries. Jae-kyung urged him to play faster so they could leave. However, as they were reaching a critical moment in the game, the guards outside began to make noise again. Annoyed, Zhang Yuan shouted at them, warning that they would all be in trouble if they didn't quiet down. Scared, they stopped making a sound. After playing 10 more moves, Zhang Yuan admitted defeat. This was the chess game he had once played with Muan, and he was eager to know what move Muan would make next. Realizing that he couldn't delay any longer, Zhang Yuan pulled out the chess pieces that Muan had carved and handed them over to Jae-kyung. Knowing that they were about to face a crisis in 20 years, having understood Muan's intentions, Zhang Yuan stood up and imparted secret martial arts techniques to Jae-kyung. When the martial arts were transmitted into Jae-kyung's body, Zhang Yuan felt somewhat disappointed because his friend had sent a weakling here. Nevertheless, Zhang Yuan still circulated his internal energy throughout JK's body, feeling as if the meridians were about to burst, and the blocked meridians within JK's body could not contain such a large influx of power. Zhang Yuan forcibly expelled impure energy from JK's body to make room for pure internal energy. Only after the martial arts transmission did Zhang Yuan realize that there were many toxins inside JK, all of which were top-grade poisons rarely found in the world. JK remembered the medicine his grandfather had given him before he left, which had stiffened his energy and blood to prevent the spread of poison in his body. That was why JK had the ability to resist poison as he did now. However, he joked that in real life, with half his body's blood gone, he would eat a whole bunch of bananas. Seeing that JK's toxicity was too strong, Zhang Yuan refrained from transmitting any more internal energy to him, as it would affect his life. Realizing that Zhang Yuan's martial arts were different from what Muan had previously taught him, JK asked for an explanation. Zhang Yuan explained that martial arts in the world were not naturally obtained, but were the result of years of accumulation and experience. The same technique could be applied differently by different people to suit themselves. Muan had transformed the technique to fit with Innova, causing danger to all three. Therefore, there were times when they argued, and the consequence was that Li Jiangbei caught JK here. Grateful for Muan's forgiveness, JK held no grudge against him and was willing to stay here rather than leave. As dawn approached, JK invited Zhang Yuan outside to relax, as Muan had forgiven him. Zhang Yuan asked JK to maintain order among the soldiers outside and promised to join him after finishing his meditation. After JK left, Zhang Yuan felt joyful, because today was the day of Big Dong Kukwang, when the Nguoethian Fuet would truly expand the world's horizons with abundant pure energy. With JK now brimming with energy, a technique had dealt with the troublemakers outside, and JK was maintaining order for Zhang Yuan to meditate inside. On the mountain, Beakley Zhang received a letter, informing him of a spy released by Muan to cause trouble. Irritated, he went to Than Mountain to settle scores, finding some disciples of the secretive Geokde sect gossiping about drinking beer or wine tonight. As they approached, they assumed they were just ordinary people visiting the mountain to become Daoists, and the disciples scattered without understanding what had just happened. Seeing Urian and Baofeng Bin approaching, Li Jiangbei claimed he missed his wife and was just visiting. He emphasized that he had no intention of killing anyone, and asked for politeness. Before Yunjung could respond, Li Jiangbei struck him with a swift blow, sending Baofeng Bin 10 paces back. When the sorceress attempted a fierce demonic attack, Li Jiangbei countered with a whistle, causing her immense pain with a piercing sound. As she was about to deliver a finishing blow, Durian intervened, using his shield to block her attack. Though surprised by Durian's intervention, as he was once part of the alliance, Li Jiangbei calmly sliced the shield in half, leaving Durian bewildered. Not only was the shield split, but Durian also received a light sword cut from his shoulder to his abdomen. While pondering how to finish impressively, Pia Book rushed in to break up the fight. Li Jiangbei coldly dismissed Yunjung, then playfully interacted with the disciples before bidding farewell to Innova and departing. As he left confidently, the distant sound of Muan's voice demanded a solo performance, prompting Li Jiangbei to release Pia Book and the disciples and fly up the mountain to confront Muan. After exchanging polite inquiries about each other's health, they scheduled a day for the following year to commemorate someone's death anniversary. Then, the two skilled swordsmen engaged in combat, sparked by competition over a woman, embodying the conflicts of love, beauty, talent, and the leadership of secret sects. Now Li Jiangbei knows their relationship isn't just a love triangle, but a love quadrangle, because Zhang Yuan is also involved. Muan doesn't care, seeing these words as a general's tactic, constantly attacking him with sword energy. Li Jiangbei employs his specialty tactics, but Muan counters with a powerful defensive move, causing him to cough up blood. Before he can grasp Muan's strategy, Muan swiftly attacks multiple times. Initially having a slight advantage, Muan even manages to disarm Li Jiangbei's sword, making me think Muan will win. But no, after Muan employs his tactic, the fifth layer of heavenly martial arts, Li Jiangbei thought he could end him, but no. Muan had mastered the seventh layer, rendering all of Muan's previous moves futile. When Muan angrily reveals this, Lee Jong-baek calmly tells him that all these techniques were passed down through scent and talent, showing him he's been playing a long game. Lee Jong-baek lightly grabs Muan's arm with his sleeve, about to crush his head. Then Innova appears to intervene. But fundamentally, Lee Jong-baek is indifferent. Doesn't care who it is, even if it blocks his path, not sparing even loved ones or former lovers. Muan apologizes for not mastering his martial arts properly, so he couldn't protect her. Lee Jong-baek tells Muan that Jae Kang is still causing trouble, but fortunately, she's here for him to deal with. Seeing that the young are unforgiving and the old are merciless, Muan puts all her strength into her final attack on Lee Jong-baek. The shockwave from the technique spreads so far that even the disciples of the evil sect at the foot of the mountain feel it, sensing Lee Jong-baek's disadvantage. Innova then adds 5 more techniques to him, aggravating Muan's anger. After that, he rushes down to rescue Muan, knowing his end is near, unable to roast potatoes with her anymore. So he uses his remaining strength to toss her upwards. The scent and talent cries bitterly for Muan, the person she once loved, who has departed forever. At the foot of the mountain, Yang Greenkyung is released. Previously, leading the Bach army with the aim of eradicating the evil sect and the Tham faction. Feeling triumphant, suddenly Masabul Myogol and Manju appear, escorting his entourage to meet their fate. Orders are given for the younger members to attack the 2 old enemies, who, though aged and somewhat crippled, possess formidable martial arts skills, and all the attacking soldiers are swiftly defeated. Seeing his subordinates fail miserably, Yang Rinkyung prepares to join the fight. Then Innova flies over to escort him back to safety. Witnessing their leader's demise and their troops' morale shattered, they retaliate in turn. Manju announces that the entire Tham mountain is surrounded. They've come here to protect the secret sect, and if it still exists, Jae Kang will return, wanting to see the extent of his accomplishments. Although he dislikes the old man as a power rival, there's no way to fight him now, and it might lead to the destruction of the sect. So Innova agrees to ally with him and Masabul Myogol. The Murin leads Kwichon division joins the alliance. After finishing his meditation, John Yuwin steps out to assess the situation. Seeing Jae Kang fighting some lowlifes with excessive internal energy use, John Yuwin criticizes him for being too inexperienced. Jae Kang retorts, saying he's just learning. How can he be as advanced as him? Despite the tension, John Yuwin hopes they won't meet again in the future, whether as allies or enemies, and they bid each other farewell, heading towards the Tham mountain. Jae Kang secretly rejoices at having gained insights into many things, and now it's just a struggle with himself to build the 9 dams. He's determined to become stronger to protect his loved ones. Arriving at the small house by the lake where Jae Kang and Tang Aja used to roast potatoes every night, he remembers his wife and is shocked to find the interior desolate and bloody. With a foreboding feeling, Jae Kang angrily follows the trail of blood into the forest to rescue his wife. Then Lok Long, Anjin, and Tin Long, Balawan, kidnap Tang Haja, intending to lure Dak Long to kill her in front of him to avenge Jae Galyeon. This plan probably didn't anticipate Dak Long's newly acquired skills. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared. Although Anjin had some reservations about Tangja's person, Balawan was determined to do as he pleased. Seeing these 2 scoundrels, Tang Haja cursed and immediately kicked one in the face, rightly calling them dogs for their actions. Despite Tang Haja's beauty, they dared to behave so despicably. About to kick again, Balawan intervened, suggesting Jae Kang could handle it when he arrived. Sensing the logic in this, Anjin turned and left. After a while, he encountered Jae Kang, and, assuming he was Dak Long, stealthily attacked him with extraordinary skill. Jae Kang skillfully deflected the attack with a short sword, introducing himself. Anjin and Tin Long orchestrated this kidnapping. Jae Kang intended to let him go to settle the score with Tin Long, but he taunted, asking why he should be forgiven despite orchestrating the events below. Enraged, Jae Kang launched a furious attack on Anjin, who arrogantly boasted of being the fastest in the world. But Tam Long Tu Feng couldn't keep up, and half of his face vanished under Jae Kang's assault.